I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did. And secondly, even when he got knocked down, he kept on trying to get up.
I'm retiring from boxing. I'm getting hit in the face every single day.
Anthony Joshua responded to Jake Paul's shocking retirement announcement with respect rather than mockery, after Paul revealed he was stepping away from boxing following a brutal knockout that left him with a broken jaw. Joshua was asked for his reaction and offered a surprisingly supportive response. Instead of criticizing, AJ praised Paul's fighting spirit, recognizing the courage it takes to step into the ring, especially without a traditional boxing background. Joshua emphasized that while criticism is part of the sport, true respect comes from having a heart to compete. And in his eyes, Jake Paul demonstrated exactly that.
Around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's two things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish that I could have knocked him out at the start. But as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit.
Eddie Hearn stood by his earlier prediction, but spoke more somberly after fight. Reflecting on his comment that the bout could end Jake Paul, Hearn said the outcome unfortunately supported that view. He explained that injuries like a broken jaw are not only painful but mentally and physically difficult to recover from, especially for a developing fighter. Time away from sparring, fear of re-injury, and lost rhythm can change a career's path. While praising Paul's toughness, Hearn emphasized that boxing is unforgiving and forces hard decisions.
Follow with you because when this fight was first announced, you had said something to the effect of this would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, no, I really take my hat off. So, I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, like that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. And I know he went down heavy, but you know he was conscious on the floor. And I thought his game plan, although obviously very negative early on, which it had to be, was smart at times. And there were times where he held his feet and let his hands go. You know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight. But you can't give him anything but credit and respect. There's a lot of negative people out there. There's a lot of people who want to criticize people. They're not doing what Jake Paul's done. He just went in with Anthony Joshua and gave it his best shot. Took a lot of punishment and ended the fight eventually.
Jake Paul's game plan against Anthony Joshua centered on movement, speed, and avoiding Joshua's power for as long as possible. Before the fight, Paul said his goal was to rely on agility and footwork, constantly circling and keeping distance to force Joshua to chase him. The strategy focused on frustration cardio and smart angles rather than direct exchanges. Paul and his team aimed to avoid the one decisive shot and survive the full 8 rounds. The plan was straightforward. Keep moving, limit damage, and make Joshua miss instead of engaging head-on.
Saw the game plan from both guys from round one. Jake was very mobile. He had the happy feet going. He was circling around the outside of the ring. He was not looking to engage in elongated combinations. He was not looking to stand in the center of the ring with AJ, and people are going to say Jake ran from AJ, and you're right. Because guess why? He absolutely had to. Again, Talked about this in the build-up to the fight. He had to be mobile. He had to. So yes, you're justified in saying Jake ran from him because he had to. He had to. That convinced themselves that Jake was going to walk to the center of the ring, stand in the phone booth with AJ, and trade punches until someone laid flat. You were lying to yourself, or you convinced yourself of something you saw in the promo. This was always going to be the way the fight went. I wasn't surprised at all that this is the way that Jake started and pretty much fought the entire time. I was a bit surprised that AJ hurt himself earlier. Now, again, it is very hard to hurt someone that doesn't want to in a continuous fight. Round one, very much a feeling out process for AJ. Didn't really look like he did much, but Jake didn't either. There was one right hand that in the first round that shook Jake up. That's the danger that was coming for Jake the entirety of the fight. And third rounds were pretty much the same. A bit of a mixed bag in terms of Jake tried to get on his jab more. He did land some jabs that snapped the head back of AJ and landed some right hands, but this was all calculated risk for AJ as well, because he knew as long as he turned that faucet on and let the water run and let it fill up the sink and never turned the faucet off, that eventually he, right? So every round it was pressure, front foot, Jay strategically breaking down Jake's gas tank. I will say I'm pretty let down by the fact that AJ didn't cut the ring. I was shocked that he didn't go to the body more. I was shocked that he didn't set up his punches more, didn't get his head off the center line more. It was not a great performance from AJ, but AJ had just come off a loss. AJ had just come off surgery. I'm not making excuses, but it was.
Nikisa Badirian defended Jake Paul after the loss, stressing that the result didn't erase what unfolded in the ring. He explained that Jake followed the game plan precisely, executing the strategy developed in camp, and doing exactly what was asked of him each round. Badirian emphasized that boxing is unforgiving, where a single mistake or clean shot can change everything instantly. From a tactical perspective, he said Jake performed as intended, displaying discipline, preparation, and clear improvement, even though the fight ended in a devastating loss.
It was a moral victory because he expected to win. I do think he showed who he is as a fighter. I think he deployed the strategy that he was very clear about going into, that he was going to look to make AJ miss, and AJ missed a number of times. And ultimately, I think the weight of AJ caught up to Jake Paul. If you look at the first 3 rounds, AJ wasn't really able to touch him. But when AJ was in a clinch with him a couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success. He even moved AJ back a few times, 1 by just jabbing in the air, and 2, when he caught him, he moved AJ back. AJ came right back in and swung.
Badirian shared an emotional reaction following Jake Paul's brutal knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, saying she was heartbroken yet proud. He noted that more people are beginning to respect Paul for his effort and courage inside the ring. According to Nikisa, Jake delivered his best performance under immense pressure, stepping in against one of the most elite heavyweights in boxing history. His response reflected a blend of sadness and admiration, echoing the feelings of many fans who were disappointed by the result, but still recognized Paul's bravery, commitment, and willingness to face such a daunting challenge.
I'm just happy he's safe. I've always been proud of him. I speak constantly from the rooftops to mountaintops, from my car when I'm moving in the street. Respect Jake Paul. That was the #1 trending thing on Twitter about an hour ago. Respect to Jake Paul. So I'm just thrilled.
With how it went tonight, obviously you guys came in here and you actually did, like, deluded or not what people will say. People believe that Jake Paul could do something crazy tonight. Did you truly believe from the beginning that he might pull it off?
So he 100% believed unequivocally that he was going to win. And I talked about that with him, afterwards when he was getting showered up. He knew it was high risk, high reward. He had to land something big, but he felt like he could. My view was it was going to be very hard, but it could happen, right? And there was moments in that fight where I was like, holy shit, this kid's getting him a little bit. So, when I spoke about no matter what happens, he won.
Despite the decisive loss, many respected figures in combat sports chose to focus on Jake Paul's resolve rather than the result. MMA legend Anderson Silva praised the courage required to face a former heavyweight champion like Anthony Joshua. Silva noted that Paul showed clear growth, discipline, and a willingness to step into extreme adversity. Analysts highlighted Paul's ability to stick to his game plan, absorb punishment, and continue competing under pressure, traits that reflect a true fighter's mentality. Silva emphasized that bravery, resilience, and improvement earn respect beyond wins and losses. Even in defeat, Paul demonstrated a mindset focused on learning, adapting, and testing himself against elite competition.
Anthony Joshua put on a show in Miami, taking on Jake Paul in a much anticipated heavyweight bout. And in the end, it was AJ who delivered exactly what we wanted in the end. He stopped Paul in the 6th round to get the victory. I'm just seeing pictures online just now of Jake Paul with a broken jaw. The guy's crazy. He's sticking his tongue out, blood everywhere. He's playing up to the cameras. He's quite the showman. Our very own showman with us this morning out there in Miami is TalkSport's Gareth A. Davies. Good morning, Gareth.
Hi, Gareth.
Good morning, Shaban. Good morning, Tony. A very dramatic night here.
Yeah.
Ask away.
Gareth, I've got to ask you because obviously he'll be criticised, I think, for sort of running around the ring in the first few rounds. But boy, I've got to say, this Jake Paul is game as anybody I've seen.
He is very, very bold and very brash and very brave. And he did extraordinarily well to take Anthony Joshua 6 rounds tonight. Yes, he ran around, he was elusive, but then he clinched and I think he landed about 4 or 5 punches. Arguably, he might have won the first round and another round in there. So he did a brilliant job for his own resume, for his own career. And as you say, he's in hospital right now. He's posting the pictures already on Instagram. The scars of battle, the wounds of battle, the broken jaw, his teeth are rearranged a little bit. He gave it his all, but he wasn't good enough. What happened, we knew that was going to happen. The gulf in class and experience was extraordinary. And I've just been with Anthony Joshua and he said he was actually quite surprised about how elusive Jake was, and he just decided, you know what, I'm going to take my time here and chop the...
Brendan Schaub and other analysts revisited Anthony Joshua's performance with renewed clarity after the fight. Schaub noted that Joshua never approached the matchup as a legacy-defining contest. As a proven elite fighter with championship experience, Joshua understood the clear gap between himself and Jake Paul, whose background remains rooted in entertainment rather than top-level boxing. Post-fight breakdown suggested Joshua's calm, controlled approach was deliberate. He avoided reckless exchanges, reduced unnecessary risk, and protected his long-term career. At the same time, Joshua delivered a composed, professional performance that satisfied fans while preserving his credibility and status within the sport.
Come off that Anthony Joshua's not taking this real, and he's not putting his best performance forward. That's the issue. The issue is Anthony's like, how much you can pay me? It's on Netflix. Hold up. I can fight this guy who, when I was an amateur teenager, I fought better guys. And I have how much weight on him? I can fight him for how much money? Dude, I'll beat him in my sleep. Correct. And you should. And it's such a disservice to the sport of boxing and to the actual fans of boxing if Anthony Joshua doesn't go out there and absolutely dominate Jake Paul. If it goes to decision, if it goes past 6 rounds, Houston, we have a problem. Boxing, we have a problem. And now, people are going, where's this energy with Gervonta Davis? Different. You're talking about a very, very small guy. I've worked with Gervonta. He's fucking tiny. And size can overshadow a lot of that stuff. I still think Gervonta should still win that fight. And the body shots, if he's taking it seriously, that should have got the job done. But obviously he has his legal issues and that went out the window. But when you're talking about an actual world-class heavyweight who went toe-to-toe with Klitschko, with fucking all these bad boys, if Anthony Joshua takes this serious, as he should, this shouldn't even be a competition. And it's brilliant because for Jake, okay, cool, man. Got knocked out by one of the best to ever do it, or got finished by one of the best to do it. At least I got in there. And I'm not even a heavyweight. I'm a cruiserweight at best. Either I'm too light in the ass for that. I should be fighting down.
Legendary ring announcer Michael Buffer offered a thoughtful perspective on the impact Jake and Logan Paul have had on modern boxing. He emphasized how the brothers injected fresh energy into the sport by drawing in younger audiences who might never have followed boxing otherwise. Through sharp self-promotion, compelling storylines, and an ability to generate massive anticipation, the Paul brothers have undeniably expanded boxing's mainstream reach. Buffer acknowledged ongoing skepticism surrounding crossover bouts, but stressed that their influence cannot be ignored. By pulling new viewers into the sport, they have boosted media attention and created opportunities for established fighters to connect with broader, more diverse audiences. Buffer described his crossover effect as a net positive, arguing that boxing thrives when elite-level skill is paired with strong promotion. In his view, entertainment and legitimacy can coexist without damaging the sport's integrity. Instead, the added visibility strengthens boxing's long-term appeal. In hindsight, many analysts framed the entire build-up as a Tom and Jerry scenario, claiming the outcome was clear well before fight night. Jake Paul played the role of the loud provocateur, using theatrics and trash talk to sell the event, while Anthony Joshua stayed calm, disciplined, and analytical. Once the bell rang, that contrast became undeniable. Joshua's experience, timing, and composure quickly took control, dismantling Paul and ending the spectacle with a decisive knockout that matched expert expectations, even if it shocked casual viewers.
Performance by Jake, brother. Bro, he's a fucking legend for that. He has such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outcome. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world. So I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times.
No, it was sick.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
Nagano, so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
Showed a ton of heart, right?
Ton of heart.
What's next for Jake Paul? Where does he go?
Before the bout, legendary trainer Teddy Atlas sparked debate across boxing by outlining a hypothetical path where Jake Paul could trouble and possibly upset Anthony Joshua. Acknowledging the steep odds, Atlas leaned on the principle that styles make fights. He argued Paul's youth, mobility, and visibly improved footwork could create issues if applied with discipline. Constant movement, smart pacing, and refusal to linger in exchanges, Atlas said, might disrupt Joshua's rhythm, especially if any hesitation surfaced after layoffs and past defeats. Once the fight unfolded, Atlas wasted no time closing the book on those scenarios. He delivered a blunt, no-nonsense assessment, admitting that any slim opening that existed on paper vanished as soon as punches were exchanged. According to Atlas, Joshua's timing, patience, and composure were razor-sharp in the opening moments. Joshua controlled distance, read patterns, waited for mistakes, and punished them decisively. That level of calm authority, Atlas emphasized, is a signature of a seasoned elite fighter. On fight night, experience ruled, ending debate completely worldwide.
I want to talk about news that broke out, and it's someone that you've always shown respect to, and I've asked you these questions before about Jake Paul. We had a surprise announcement just the other day about him and Anthony Joshua. What was your reaction when you saw that announcement? It shocked a lot of people in boxing. What did you make of that, or what do you make?
Jake hasn't made too many mistakes so far, so it got my attention. It got Teddy's attention. He's been growing. He's been growing in the ring. He's been growing outside the ring. He's been growing in confidence. I think that in the Canelo situation, that didn't happen. He was ready to do that. I think if anything else, if nothing else, he's showing you that he truly is believing in himself. And that, he's been a work in progress. He still is. And he's showing you, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Everyone's calling for him to do this, to do that. And, he's always had the advantage with guys that weren't real fighters. They were fighters, they were older fighters, they were MMA fighters, they were this, they were that. They were smaller, they were older. Now he's taking a guy that's bigger, older, but bigger. A real can't debate if he's a fighter. 2-time heavyweight champ. Coming off, but he's a smart son of a gun. He's a gutsy son of a... I always stood up for him because everyone was saying he was hurting the sport. He wasn't hurting the sport. In some ways, he was bringing interest in a different way to the sport. But
Do you agree with the praise Jake is getting despite the loss? Or was Joshua's elite experience always going to decide the fight? Share your thoughts in the comments below.